The Alpha Horizon. Thinking different, acting aware.
Hi, I'm Silvia Merler, Head of Research at the Algebris Policy Research Forum. Welcome back to this podcast. Today we're going to talk about the effect of COVID-19 on the Italian economy.
Since the end of February, following the spread of COVID-19, increasingly stringent regulations have been introduced in Italy to contain the contagion. What are the economic effects of this progressive reduction in movement of people and productive activities?
We can distinguish two phases in the Italian lockdown. A first mild phase during the first 3 weeks of March, during which restrictions were mostly imposed on people's movement, but not on economic activity. During this phase, the sectors that have been most affected are tourism, hotels and restaurants, transport, storage, and retail and wholesale trade. Following March 25th, however, the lockdown has become a lot tighter and all non-essential productive activity has been shut down. This obviously had a much stronger effect on production and on Italian GDP.
Given the peculiarities of the Italian economy, what are the biggest challenges it faces with the recently introduced measures?
I think there are two specificities of the Italian economy that will prove problematic in the context of the COVID-19 shocks. The first one is the fact that most Italian firms are fairly small, even micro in some cases, and small firms are definitely going to be at disadvantage when facing the liquidity crisis induced by the COVID-19 shock. On the other hand, the other aspect of weakness is the fact that important sectors in the Italian economy, like manufacturing, for example, are strongly linked to foreign demand that accounts even for 50% of the value added produced in the Italian manufacturing sector. Part of this foreign demand may be structurally lower in the future if firms in other countries may decide to re-onshore part of their supply chain to limit the disruption in the future.
What shall we expect in the upcoming months? Assuming different scenarios in terms of restrictions for business and for people, what will be the impact on the Italian GDP?
The answer to this question depends crucially on three factors, I believe. The first one is the speed of reopening the economy. The second is whether we are going to see a second wave of COVID infections later in 2020. And the third one is, as I was mentioning earlier, whether we are going to see a structural decline in foreign demand for Italian products. So depending on the scenario that you factor in, we estimate real GDP growth in 2020 to be between -8% and -15%. And the impact on public finances will be very sizable because debt to GDP ratio are going to climb up from 135% in 2019 to between 150 and 160% this year.
The Alpha Horizon. Thinking different, acting aware.